When you hear the name Elbridge Gerry today, if you're smart and you know who Elbridge Gerry is, you will immediately think of gerrymandering, the political trick of drawing voting districts to favor one party. It's huge in the news right now. It's legal. But that word and that controversy it sparked is only the last chapter of a much larger story. Gerry was a man of fierce independence and passionate advocate of Republican government and one of the most consistent anti-federalist voices of the founding era. He signed the Declaration of Independence, refused to sign the Constitution, and spent his career warning that concentrated power, whether in kings, presidents, or parliaments, was the enemy of liberty. I still agree, and I think that could be remembered today. He wasn't loved for it, but Gerry's stubborn defense of Republican principles shaped the debates that produced the Bill of Rights and later defined American politics. Welcome to our republic.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band,
sailors and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Not
Those three hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
we pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Elbridge Gerry was born in 1744 in Marblehead, Massachusetts, into a prosperous merchant family. Unlike many self-taught founders, Gerry's received a solid education, graduating from Harvard College. He worked in his family's shipping business, which not only made him wealthy, but it also gave him a firsthand experience in trade, taxation, and the burden of British regulations on colonial commerce. From early on, Gerry distrusted overreaching government. And I love it. He believed that liberty was fragile and must be actively guarded by the people. Still true today. Those convictions would guide him to the center of revolutionary politics. Now, by 1770s, Gerry was deeply involved in Massachusetts politics. He worked with the Committee of Correspondence, those underground networks of patriots who coordinated resistance to British policy. He became close to men like Samuel Adams and John Hancock when the Continental Congress was formed. Gerry was there. He signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776, placing himself firmly among the patriots who risked everything for separation from Britain. And like some, Gerry was no soldier, but his pen, his voice, and his persistence were weapons in that fight for liberty. Now fast forward to 1787 and the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Gerry came ready to strengthen the Articles of Confederation, but deeply suspicious of concentrated power. His debates raged. He grew more and more uneasy with the Constitution being drafted. Gerry worried about the absence of the Bill of Rights, the power of a standing army, and the responsibility of corruption, and the possibility of corruption in the presidency and the Senate. He believed that ordinary citizens would be vulnerable without explicit protections. And it's true. I mean, you see the lefties trying to destroy everything in the Bill of Rights. They want control. And when the final document was presented for signing, Elbridge Gerry, he refused as well. Like George Mason, he stood apart from his fellow delegates, unwilling to endorse a constitution that he feared gave too much authority to a distant central government. It was a controversial decision. Federalists called him abstinent, even reckless, but Gerry's refusal added weight to the Anti-Federalist cause, and his criticisms helped push James Madison and others to adopt the Bill of Rights. And despite his opposition to the Constitution, Gerry later accepted service under the new government. He served in the first Congress, worked as a diplomat, and eventually became governor of Massachusetts. And it was during his governorship in 1812 that his name became forever attached to American politics. Gerry approved a redistricting plan designed to favor his party, the Republicans. Sorry, the Democrat Republicans. One district was so oddly shaped that it resembled a salamander. Critics mocked it as a gerrymander, and the term stuck. Ironically, Gerry himself had little to do with the drawing of the lines, but his signature sealed the plan, and his name was forever linked to partisan map-making. In 1813, Elbridge Gerry became Vice President of the United States under James Madison. Even then, he remained what he had always been, a principled, sometimes stubborn advocate for a Republican government. He served until his death in 1814, becoming the only signer of the Declaration of Independence to be buried in Washington, D.C. Elbridge Gerry's legacy was complicated. His name is remembered through gerrymandering, often as a symbol of political manipulation, but that single word overshadowed a lifetime of service and principle. Gerry was a patriot who stood at the center of America's most important debates, insisting that liberty required vigilance, limits on power, and protections for the people. He may not have been the most popular or the most celebrated, but he was relentless. And his anti-Federalist influence left his mark on the Bill of Rights and on the Republic itself. Elbridge Gerry, the advocate for Republican principles and signer of independence and an anti-Federalist conscience of the Revolution. His stubborn defense of liberty reminds us that freedom doesn't come from trusting power, it comes from questioning it. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Remember, history isn't boring. It's the story of men who refuse to sign their names to anything less than liberty. I'll see you next time.